Is anybody too warm? Yes, there's nodding of heads. I don't know about you, I'm absolutely roasting. Lee, if there's something that we could do in terms of temperature, I think that would be appreciated. We are fewer in number, but there's an awful lot of warmth in the room for net zero, I think. I know, yeah, all right, shut up. Be quiet in the cheap seats, honestly. Right, okay, welcome back. We're going to be talking about overcoming design, construction, and retrofit challenges with innovative decarbonisation technologies. It gives me enormous pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Kathryn Dapre, Head of Sustainability at Cala Group.
First of all, for those of you who saw an early version of the programme, I'm clearly not a male politician, so hopefully I'm the better option, at least I'm more honest. So, I was asked to open this up, and I guess you're wondering why am I talking about new build when potentially the rest of the session is going to talk a bit more about retrofit and also about why we're talking about innovation. Within new build, it's easier to build in sustainability at the start, so that's why there's an awful lot of pressure on new build housing to do things right. And quite often, if we prove the technology, we prove it at scale, and then that makes it easier to retrofit in afterwards. So that's one of the reasons why I was asked to speak. The other thing is, there was a lot of talk this morning about district heating and district networks, and I know that's an area that Scotland's really moving into. You need us for that. District heating providers love us because we are big developments that can all connect, and that gives them, an initial customer base from which they can then grow into existing housing. If you want to see a practical example of that, our development out at Craycall Miller Hill and just near Dalkeith. So I'm going to talk, and as we go on talking about innovation, I'm going to talk about some of the challenges and the opportunities around it, mainly some of the challenges. But first of all, if I can get this to work, why are you not working? Where am I pointing?
No, not playing.
No, there we go. Oh, it's got it. Okay. Very quickly about Cala, if you don't know who we are a house builder. This year is our 150th anniversary. Originally, we were based in Scotland. We now operate across Scotland and England, and we do about 3,000 homes a year. I've been a little bit cagey on our targets, the reason being our net zero targets, they're all currently under review. We are going through a process of revalidating all of our science-based targets. So we do have an overall target of net zero by 2045 across our scope 1, 2 and 3, which I think will stay, but it's the interim targets I suspect will change when we go through this validation process. What I will tell you is we are being quite successful. Our scope 1 and 2 emissions are down by over 50% in the last 3 years. And our scope 3, we've tackled a bit of our scope 3 then as well. So why are we talking about housing when we talk about decarbonisation? The obvious one is, yes, the energy used in housing, and you'll hear people talk about heat pumps and district heating and all of that kind of thing. That's one tiny element of it. If you think about a house, where it's built or the development and all the things that impacts from a decarbonisation point of view. So if we build a 200 home development in somewhere with really great transport infrastructure, brilliant. If we build it on the edge of a town where they've never seen a bus in years, we've just added 200 cars to the local environment with all of the issues that poses. And even how we design the house, how we think about nature in our developments, it all influences customer behaviour and it all influences the big decarbonisation journey. So it's really, really important that we get housing right. And I haven't even gone into the broader sustainability aspects around social sustainability and community aspects and all that kind of thing. Then this is increasingly becoming an argument about the impacts to us as a business and to the housing industry in general. So climate impacts on our supply chain, where we get particularly timber is a real concern, where we get our timber from. Also the climate impacts on site. So when we had the huge floods, last year, and that had big impacts. Some sites were shut down. People couldn't get to work. Even when we've had extreme heat down, I know that's, maybe not great for Scotland, not a typical scenario in Scotland, but where we built in the southeast a couple of years ago, we had 42 degrees C heat. We cannot expect people to work in full PPE in that, so we lost site time. So all of these things have an impact. And then, increasing legislation and things coming through in planning. Finance is becoming more of an issue around this. Our financial investors for now, still want to know what we're doing from an environmental point of view. And the customer demand is not there at scale yet. It is growing though, and we are starting to get more queries about it. So that's the impact, why we take it seriously, sort of the impact to us. When we come to decarbonising housing, there are three big issues. I'll very quickly touch on the first one because the first one's not easy, but it's the one that everybody's tackling, and that's the construction process itself. So that's decarbonising how we operate on site, the fuel that we use in our vehicles, the energy that we use to run our plant, and the things like the site welfare cabins. Decarbonisation in this case is mainly driven actually by corporate demand, because this is a quick win and we get really quick savings from this, and it's savings that happen immediately. We're not waiting for a planning decision or a building regulation decision before we make a change in this. These are changes we can make now. So you'll see all of the major house builders, all of the major construction companies will have worked very, very hard on this particular issue. From a technology point of view, the issues here are when people come to us with a technology to help us in this space, it's prove to us that it works at scale, and also prove to us that you can respond really quickly if we've got an issue. That's what our guys on site need to know, that they're not going to lose site time. Then we've got the operational housing design. Now, we spoke about a lot of that this morning, about particularly around heating. This one, surprisingly, is not my biggest concern at the moment, because the legislation is pushing us this way. By 2030, pretty well every new build house that you buy is going to be zero carbon in the UK. So we know how to do it. For us, it's also a big concern because there's this really nasty category in the Greenhouse Gas Protocol called Scope 3 Category 11, used to sold products, so we need to account for this in our reporting, which looks at life cycle emissions. Now, from a technology point of view, as a big house builder, what we need on this is we need products that are proven to work at scale, and also where you've thought about the customer experience. It's all very well saying we've got this amazing piece of kit and it's brilliant, but it requires a degree in electronics to work it. We can't sell that. So really think about a technology that works for the customer. The biggest headache for the construction industry for house building at the moment is the last one, embodied carbon. And the barrier here is that this is not really feeding through into legislation yet. We're starting to see it coming through in the old planning application, but not at scale. And this one is absolutely huge. This is still from a new report coming out shortly from the Future Homes Hub. Future Homes Hub is a big collaborative industry body. All the major house builders are represented. And they're producing this net zero transition plan for the whole industry. And that big green chunk is embodied carbon. And you can see it's going down, but it's not going down very fast, and it's not going down to zero. So that is a huge area to tackle. And this is one where even if Cala decided tomorrow we are going to be zero carbon, we can't do it, and we can't do it on our own, and no house builder on their own can solve this. This is a systemic issue that we need the supply chain with us, and we need other house builders with us. So it's a huge, huge problem to tackle. So the challenges around decarbonising housing, and from a technical point of view, they're not actually technical. There's one technical one in there, which is grid capacity, which we could talk about forever. All of the issues around getting technology and getting this done are, when I worked in the public sector, I used to call these the crap issues. You know, it's like it's funding. And sometimes it's not even that the funding's not there, it's that it's not there in the right way. We've got ambiguous and conflicting legislation. We've got conflicts between a local authority wanting to be sustainable, but they also need to provide more housing, and so on and so on. I could read through all of these. None of these are insurmountable, but they are fundamentally annoying. But there is a huge barrier, and I'm going to leave you with this one, and it's been mentioned already today, and it's this one. I've worked in this industry now for 32 years. This is the worst I have ever seen it in terms of what we're dealing with. So in the early 2000s, yeah, it was a tough industry to be in, but that was because nobody knew what we were talking about. So you spent a lot of your time trying to convince people, but when you did, they got it and life moved on. Where we are now is faced with incontrovertible evidence of what's happening, faced with literally burning cities. We now have companies and governments reneging on climate targets, reneging on D&I policies, reneging on all of this sustainability stuff. And for some reason, the far right have chosen to politicise net zero, and now it's become this horrible thing that they're going to use as a weapon. I don't get it. I don't get why they're doing that. One way I think we could possibly, I'm not going to say solve it, but possibly help, is the terminology. I was recently pulling together our TCFD part of our annual report, and if any of you have gone through that, you'll know the pain it is. And that's one report. We've got SECR and other companies have got CSRD and this whole alphabet soup. Those in the public sector climate duties reporting. We produce all of these reports. Now I'm going to burst your bubble here. Nobody reads them. Or what I'm going to tell you is nobody who matters reads them. Now, the people that read that big section I wrote earlier on today are going to be investors and other sustainability professionals checking how the competition's doing. The people that matter don't read this stuff. So the people that matter to us are our customers. They don't read my TCFD return. They don't give two hoots. They want to know how big the kitchen is. So what I think we need to start doing is reframing how we talk about this. And I just want to leave you with this. Which of these houses would you be more likely to buy? Would you buy this one? And this is, so we describe it as, this house is net zero enabled, has an EPC rating of A, it's been designed to have low upfront embodied carbon, we've got 10% biodiversity net gain, and our strategy, we've got a science-based target to reduce our scope 1 and 2 emissions by blah, 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 blah. You guys know kind of what that means. You think the average customer does? Would you buy this one? Built to the highest energy efficiency standards, minimal running costs, we're using materials that promote health and well-being, we're supporting local wildlife, and our strategy includes a commitment to support local communities. Spoiler alert, same house. So I think we need to reframe the narrative. The one on the left, yeah, Farage and his cronies can tear that one apart. I would argue they're going to have real trouble denying the one on the right. And I'll leave you with that. Thank you very much.